let me take a couple of minutes, just a couple of minutes, to talk about other financial instruments. I don't think I'm going to have time to get through all of these, but I just want to at least tell you a little bit about financial derivatives. So you've heard a lot about derivatives, presumably in the wake of the financial crisis. A derivative is just an asset whose value is, as the name implies, derived from a different asset. So basically a derivative is a contract. It's a promise to do something. I'll make that more concrete in a moment, but the reason why it's vague is because derivatives are, in fact, extremely flexible. The purpose of a derivative is to cater to a particular individual. A person or a firm has some desire for a certain amount of riskiness, a certain amount of return, and a derivative is a contract designed to sort of deliver that. So what are some examples? The one you've heard about the most probably is mortgage-backed securities. So a mortgage-backed security works like this. So a bank is going to issue mortgages to people to buy houses, and then those owners of those houses are going to pay back their mortgages, and that's going to generate some return for the bank. Now, the problem is some of these folks can default, right? In which case, the bank is not going to get back that money. So the bank doesn't like this. It would prefer to, like us, like anybody, it would prefer to have a more certain return rather than vesting in this risk or being subject to this risk. So what can it do? Well, the bank can issue a bunch of different mortgages, lots and lots of mortgages to lots of houses, and then split up the returns from the mortgages, right? So these mortgages are all paying back interest. It can split up that interest and say, okay, I'm going to get all this interest back, and then I'm going to sell claims on the interest of these loans. And these claims are sold. They look a little bit like stocks. They're called mortgage-backed securities. So if we have these 10 houses, we've issued mortgages to them, and they all pay out, all of them pay back without defaulting, they'll generate a bunch of money. And so if somebody owns 20% of the mortgage-backed securities, they'll get 20% of it. If they own 60% of the ones that are issued, they'll get 60% of the interest paid out by these mortgages. Now, in the event that some of them default, if half of them default, then everybody gets half as much. So what is the benefit of this? Well, at this point, the bank is not incurring any of these losses, right? Because it has taken its mortgages and sold off the claims to the interest in them. So the bank has converted this risky source of income into a safe source of income. It's sold the securities, and now it's these guys' problem whether the houses pay back or not, whether the homeowners pay back or not. So that's good, right? So at least from the bank's perspective, that's good, and it allows it to sort of hedge risk. So the banks have bundled the payouts of these mortgages and then sold shares in them. So these are called mortgage-backed securities. So as I said, the purpose of these is to spread risk. It's not all concentrated in the bank. It's spread out across all of the investors in the bank. This could be hundreds, thousands of people. So there are potential problems with this, however. So one of them is that banks will not screen borrowers as carefully if they can turn around and sell those mortgages to other people, right? Because they're no longer on the hook. They don't have any skin in the game for those mortgages, and so they're not as worried about making sure the mortgages are good. They don't check that these borrowers are necessarily trustworthy. The other issue is that defaults aren't always independent, right? So if you have a bunch of mortgages in Santa Cruz and UCSC shuts down, a lot of people are probably going to default on their mortgages all at the same time, right? And so really it's possible, although this was meant to pool risk, spread risk around, it might not actually succeed in that, all right?